Yes, we've all imagined it. Waking up in the middle of the night and peering out of your window and watching cars go by, or, if it's really late, seeing nothing at all but an empty, dark street. If you're lucky, your street will have lights to illuminate the way for late-night workers or the occasional lost soul. I, however, was not lucky. One night I woke up, and like all kids too active to go back to sleep, I stared out of my window and watched the street. I say watched because I never really seemed to stare as a kid. Staring was being fixated on something without giving notice that it was there. Watching was examining something with your vision. I loved my view from the window because my house was at the end of the street where it curved off onto a turn. My window was on the first floor and faced down the street. Cars going by never seemed to bother me though, but this time, something did. While I was watching the street, I noticed something out of the ordinary with the view. Usually, a row of streetlights strung down my street and illuminated the black smooth pavement, alerting drivers to the curve at the end. But this time something was different. I couldn't figure it out, but about 2 streetlights down, someone was standing underneath the light, as if he was expecting the darkness to recover in the orange pale glow, or coming from it. His back was to me, and he was facing down the street just as I was before. Something was very odd about this, as there was no bus stops at the end of my street, where people could wait in little glass and metal shelters out of the rain. But this man was just standing there underneath the light, not doing anything. Staring. He wore a black fedora and a suit with matching shoes that shined in the light. What was even more strange was that he wasn't carrying anything with him, so I figured he was waiting for someone? Or maybe just being weird. I had wondered what time it was and quickly grabbed my clock. It read 2:03 a.m. This scared me a little, as seeing a random person in the street either waiting for someone or not doing anything at all. I watched him intently, waiting for him to make a move, or do something, anything. But he didn't. I must have watched him for a half an hour, or maybe longer, and was about to turn away and go to bed when suddenly I saw movement. A car was coming down the street. This struck me as even stranger, but as I said before, sometimes people were lost or working late at night. But then something else happened that is why you are reading this now. The car came down the street and stopped dead center in front of the man. The lights were off so the driver wouldn't wake anyone else up in the street. A door on the side opened for the man to get in. But before he got in, he turned and faced me. I'm sure he knew I was watching him. He looked straight at me. He was too far away for me to see his face, but he was close enough that I could tell he was looking straight at me. I quickly ducked and hid underneath the covers. Like the common child, I knew the indestructible layers of cotton would protect me from any evils that tried to get me. I heard a car door slam and the engine slowly hummed as it started down my street, but it started growing louder and louder as the vehicle kept creeping closer. I was so nervous and my heart was racing. Then I heard a sound that stopped my heart completely. Right outside of my house, I heard another car door open and close, then an engine creeping and humming away. Well, they obviously dropped the man outside of my house because I had saw their weird engagement. I willed myself every second to get out from underneath my blanket and check to see if he was outside. And I finally worked the courage up to do so. And when I looked outside, I was struck with a huge force of relief when I saw nobody. I told my parents about it, and unlike a cartoon or some weird horror movie, my parents believed me. "Probably just some business exchange," my father said as he munched on some toast. I was relieved yet again to have my parents on my side, but every night, before I go to bed, I check outside my window to see if that man is still there. He is. Every night he somehow gets underneath that street lamp and waits for that car to pick him up, and every time he turns and looks at me. I have since moved from that area, but I still wonder who that man was, and what he was doing underneath that streetlight.